So good afternoon, everyone. We're going to learn a little bit about Belize Professional Accounting Services today and what I do. My tagline at the bottom, better planning and success. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail, right? And likewise with business, anything you do in life, if you don't prepare, you don't plan ahead, you don't have some sort of roadmap for where you're trying to be, you might get a little lost and struggle in the way, and you might run into roadblocks that could have been avoided, could have been prepared for, et cetera, et cetera. So who are we? Or in more detail, who am I? So we're a small business based in Belize. Belize is the only English-speaking country in the Caribbean. We are neighbors with Mexico, Guatemala, and I believe Honduras at the bottom. It's owned by a chartered certified accountant, myself. I got my certificate, ACCA, from the Association of Chartered Accountants in the UK as an offshore or international certification, right? Because they have two. They have the UK base that lets you be able to do taxes, get a practicing license, and there's an international version that lets you just be a part of the organization, get your training, get their resources, et cetera, et cetera. I have over 3 years auditing experience, so I've been in the audit field working with many different companies, ranging from car dealerships, manufacturing firms, online companies, merch stores, retail stores, supermarkets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I also have so far 1.5 years under my belt helping small businesses online grow. I do also have experience with my family company in terms of bookkeeping and running the company, but I don't really count that as much because most people get to think a little bit biased when you try to include, family company experience. What do we do? So this is a few of our services that we provide, and in the next slide, we're going to focus on one of them a little bit, which is the most important one. So we provide bookkeeping services, which is, as you all might have an idea already, bookkeeping is simply taking in the transactions that a company does during its day-to-day operations, and then basically classifying to the different correct accounts so that we could have financial statements. Budgeting and forecast is where we take past data, right, from the financial statements. And what we do is, from a budget perspective, we take into account the owner's goals, ambitions from a revenue standpoint, and then we basically map out what that looks like for the next 12 months. A forecast now goes beyond 12 months, usually extends 3 to 5 years, taking into account what company growth, their ambitions, their goals, et cetera, et cetera. So with this in mind, this is a good tool for that planning aspect of it where, most people go, oh, well, I want to make $1 million this year. How are you going to do that, right? And so by looking at how the company did last year, we could look at seasonal peaks and dips. For example, in e-commerce, this time of year, June and July, the J months are usually the slow months. And the last quarter of the year is usually, they make 2-3 times their revenue that they've made up to date, mainly because of, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all these online events and sales that happen. We also do cash flow management. So the way we've been doing this is through a system called Profit First. If you heard of it, you know what it is. If you don't, just to give a little grasp, it's basically taking separate accounts and separating your business into those segments so that you could clearly see what the business has to spend on those areas. So for example, it will be basically you're going to have a profit account, so you could see what your profit is on a cash basis. You're going to have an expense account, and you could have, if you're buying inventory, an inventory account, marketing, and it basically just segments your company for you so that you don't overspend on one section. It lets you be more efficient and manage the cash flow just a bit better. The fourth thing that we assist with is strategy calls. We do this on a monthly and or bi-weekly basis. And so we're going to touch more on what a strategy call is and entails on the next slide. And lastly, we have inventory management. Most of the times when I work with clients, they either have or don't have inventory on their financial statements, or they either have and don't have financial statements at all. And so what we do is the first goal for a client that does not have inventory on the statement is for them to do a count and get that inventory balance or number. And some clients will go, but Gustavo, I've never done a count before. What's that like? And so what I do is then I help them create a procedure around how to do an inventory count properly and efficiently. And then we move on to adding it to the books, and then we manage it month by month. Now, what that entails is first setting up the processes and procedures to be able to count the inventory properly. Then we move on to buying and receiving inventory. Then we move on to the different buying schedules in terms of a just-in-time inventory system or just the buying schedule in general for different products. What comes along with this as well is also analyzing the margins of your inventory that you're selling, making sure everything is profitable, making sure your bundles are profitable, and so forth. So this is just a glimpse of some of the services that we would provide to our clients. And next, this is where we're going to spend a bulk of the conversation. So strategy calls.
Two minutes, Gustavo.
That's fine. We're going to speed through it. So strategy calls, basically, we operate as a vested business partner for your small business, right? Most accountants and bookkeepers, they just provide the financials, help you go through it, and that's it. What we do is we meet with you on a bi-weekly or monthly basis after we've created this budget for you, after we've walked through what your goals are, and we hold you accountable month after month, bi-weekly, 2 weeks after 2 weeks, where we do a budget to actuals forecast. We strategize with you in terms of how are we going to make those sales. We look at all the different sorts of revenue streams that you can start implement to get you to your goal. We look at what expenses we can cut and can't cut. We help you analyze pricing analysis for your products, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we meet monthly, bi-weekly. We discuss the financial statements, goals, perform ad hoc analysis, and we do not do any taxes. I'm just going to touch on the ad hoc analysis a bit. What that really means is, for example, some companies have these large marketing campaigns, Facebook ads, Google ads, and they don't know exactly what that data is telling them. So what we would do is we would get that raw data for them and convert it into charts and readable information that they could understand. So we could say, hey, this ad campaign brought X amount of traffic, X amount of dollars, but your email campaign isn't doing so good. And so that will help us make informed decisions. And from a marketing standpoint, let's spend more on Facebook. Let's reduce the email. Let's spend more on email. Let's reduce the Facebook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd like to stress, we do not do any taxes. We leave that for the tax accountants, tax professional. We just help you get your financials together and help you achieve your goals, grow your business, et cetera. And that's the end of my slide. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, want to know anything more, I believe we probably still have about 30 seconds or so, Yanis.
Yeah, we've got 24 seconds. I'm just going to stop your sharing there, Gustavo. Julie, okay. Just quickly before we move on, could you make the breakout rooms 10 minutes, please, or we'll run out of time? Thank you. Yeah, that was brilliant, Gustavo. Thank you. Over to you, Sean.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic. And I think mentioning strategy there, it just makes me think of my own accountant that